Hey guys, welcome back to my kitchen. Thank you so much for coming back for another video. Today we're going to be making some recipes using canned biscuits. Some of these you can actually freeze and eat later, or eat them right away of course, and I hope you stick around for the last recipe because it is so good. First up, we're making this super simple chicken in a biscuit. I started by preheating the oven to 375 degrees. And then in my air fryer, I'm just cooking some popcorn chicken. I cooked a couple extra because I was using this for dinner this day as well. So you'll just follow the package directions and cook it for what it says on the back of the bag. Over to my cupcake / muffin pan. I'm just going to spray down 8 of these cups with some nonstick spray. My spray came out a little bit thick, so I had to kind of get in there and smear it around with my hands, but you only need to do this to 8 of the cups. Next, I'm opening 1 can of biscuits, and for the biscuit, you're going to want to take it and spread it out a little bit, and you're going to then press it down into the cups. Make sure you press down in every single spot on the biscuit because there might be an air pocket underneath. And if it bakes with that air pocket underneath, it's not going to form right, so make sure you get all the air out from underneath of it. Next, you're going to take your popcorn chicken once it's done cooking and add 1 into each one of your biscuits. My only regret for this recipe is I wish I would have used 2 pieces of chicken per biscuit. It was just a lot of biscuit to chicken, or next time maybe I could use chicken nuggets. That might work better as well. To start, these went in the oven for about 8 minutes, and after 8 minutes I'm going to pull them out and just press each one of these little popcorn chickens down. At this point is where I think I would add another piece of popcorn chicken if I made these again. After pressing those down, they're going to go back into the oven for an additional 8 to 10 minutes or until they are nice and golden brown on top. Here's what they look like when they were all done. Like I said, you want to have that nice golden color on the top. For me, I drizzled some honey over the top and I thought that was so good. However, you can also dip these in gravy. That's what my husband did on this night, and he really enjoyed them like that as well. Next, we're making something everybody in your family will love: pepperoni and cheese calzones. I just started by preheating my oven to 400 degrees. Next, over to a small bowl, I'm just going to crack 1 egg in here and whisk this really well. Now I'm just opening my biscuits, getting those sorted out, and I'm also going to take some mozzarella cheese. This is just a block, one of the bigger blocks that I cut in half, and now I'm just cutting smaller pieces off of that. I prefer to just cut pieces like this rather than use the mozzarella shredded cheese because it kind of gets in the way when you're making these. I also sat out my pepperoni and my jar of pizza sauce. For each biscuit, you're going to want to flatten it out a little bit and then spread it out so it's about the size of your palm. Next, more towards one side, you'll add about 4 to 5 pepperonis. You'll add about a tablespoon of sauce towards the back of the pepperonis and then 2 pieces of cheese. As you add everything on, you want to make sure you leave a little bit of an edge. That way you can seal this up really tight without any sauce coming out. That's why you add the sauce towards the back, so that once you start pressing with your fork around the edges, the sauce does not get in the way and you can seal it up really tight. Here are all of my calzones now on my baking sheet. I just put them on top of some parchment paper so that they will not stick if any cheese leaks out or anything. On top of each one of these, I'm just going to cover them with my egg wash. And as you can see, 2 of them, the sauce leaked out just a little bit. They end up coming apart slightly in the oven, but still edible, still totally fine. Now we're going to create a vent on top of all of these. I'm just taking a really sharp knife and cutting 3 slits in the top of each one, and this really works best if you do it quickly with just the end of your knife. I place these in my oven for right around 15 minutes. You want to keep an eye on them because once they start getting this really pretty golden color on them, it's time to come out of the oven. Over top of these, I'm just sprinkling them with some garlic powder, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and some dried parsley. This is just going to add some color and extra flavor over the top. These calzones always come out looking so beautiful. I mean, does that not look perfect? They are so good. My husband loves when I make these. I like to just put them in freezer bags, put them in the freezer, and then he can heat them up when he gets home after his late nights of work. If you do choose to freeze these, I like to freeze them usually in the freezer with 2 per bag, and then you can easily microwave them. It only takes about a minute and 30 seconds. Now we're going to be making these Sloppy Joe cups. With these, you want to preheat your oven to 400 degrees, and then I'm going to start by chopping up half of a yellow onion into really small pieces. Next, over to my skillet, I have 1 pound of ground beef. I'm going to add the onion in there as well and just let these cook together. For this recipe, you actually only need a ½ pound of ground beef, so I'm just going to go ahead and cook the whole pound since I had it in my freezer like that, and save the other ½ pound for another recipe. Now that I just have a ½ pound in my pan, I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of ketchup, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, a couple drops of Worcestershire sauce, and 1 teaspoon of mustard. Of course, if you want these to be a little more tart, you can add some more mustard, and if you want them to be sweeter, you can add some more brown sugar. It's totally up to you. Just after you get it mixed together, give it a little taste before you start adding it into your biscuits. Over to my cupcake / muffin pan, I'm going to go ahead and just pull apart this biscuit a little bit and then press it down into the cups like we did with the first recipe. I did spray this pan down with some nonstick spray, very important, so you can easily pull these out. And again, just like the first recipe, make sure you are pressing all over to make sure there are no air bubbles underneath of them. Into the bottom of each one of your biscuits, you're going to add a pinch of shredded mild cheddar cheese, or you can use sharp cheddar. Either one will be fine for this recipe. Now go ahead and take your Sloppy Joe mixture and you are going to add as much as you can into each one of these cups. I just added a small scoop, and then once I made sure each one had a small scoop, I pressed them all down, and then if there was any extras, I just divided it between the 8 cups. On top of each one of these, you're then going to top it with another pinch of cheese. You can add as much cheese on top, let's be honest, whatever you want to do, and then these are going to go in the oven. I stuck mine in the oven for about 12 minutes. You want the edges to look really nice and golden brown. Of course, will be much puffier, and just make sure the cheese has melted on the top as well. Here's what they look like when they are all done. You don't have to have anything else with these. You can just eat them perfectly like this. You can serve them with French fries or tater tots, anything of that nature would all be great sides to go along with this, and you can make this into a meal. And if you want to, you can also freeze this one as well, just like with the calzones. Last but not least, we're gonna make a dessert, and we are making this delicious monkey bread. I started by preheating my oven to 350 degrees, and then this is my bundt cake pan. As you can see, there is the measurements below the size that I am using. I am going to spray this down really well with nonstick spray. You want to make sure you have that, if not it's going to stick in there. Into this large bowl, I'm adding 2/3 cup of white sugar and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. I'm just going to mix that together and set that aside for just a minute. And now for the biscuits, I have 2 cans here. I opened them up, and now I'm just going to cut each biscuit into 4 pieces. And as you cut the biscuits, you can go ahead and add those straight into your cinnamon and sugar bowl. Once they're all in there, you're going to take your spoon and start mixing it together. That way you can bring the sugar and cinnamon up over the top of them, really get it combined. They are going to stick together a little bit. That's why I like to use one hand to scoop the sugar and cinnamon with the spoon and use the other hand to break apart pieces I see that are sticking together. Now you're going to need a bowl you can stick in the microwave. You're going to add a stick and a half of butter. I know it's a lot, but you really do need it. You're going to melt that in the microwave, and then once you have that melted, you're going to add 1 cup of light brown sugar in there, and then give it a really good mix until everything has come together. Now finally, back over to our bundt cake pan, I'm going to add half of that butter and brown sugar mixture to the bottom of that pan. Next, taking your cinnamon sugar biscuits, go ahead and add all of those down into the pan now. I like to use my hand just because if you dump the whole bowl, then you're going to have some cinnamon sugar going everywhere. And I like to use my hands because you can also make them a little bit more even throughout the pan. Finally, go ahead and dump the rest of your butter and brown sugar mixture over the top. This baked in my oven for right around 30 minutes. When you pull it out of the oven, the best thing you can do is just take a fork or a butter knife, something like that, stick it down towards the center and see if the bread pieces are looking more like bread rather than stretchy dough. Then I just kind of pat it on top to make sure everything stays together, and I let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes. Now I'm going to go ahead and get started on my icing mixture. I have 8 ounces of room temperature. It's very important that this is room temperature cream cheese. I'm going to stick this in my mixer, and I'm going to beat this until it is nice and smooth. Next, you'll add a half cup of powdered sugar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and about a 1/4 cup of milk. I'm using half and half just because that's what I had on hand, but either one will work just fine. And I'm going to go ahead and mix those together again. You may have to use a spatula or a spoon to get down there and scrape the edges. The cream cheese does tend to stick to the bottom a little bit more. So once you do that, just go ahead and mix it again until it is nice and smooth. I do like my icing to be thicker. If you want this to be thinner and drip down the sides, just add a little bit more milk. Once your pan is cool enough to touch, you'll just take your plate, add it on top, and then tip the pan over, attach to the plate, and then it should come right off as long as you really sprayed the bottom really well, and you can see some of that butter and brown sugar dripping out. Let some of it drip on there, and then you can go ahead and start adding your icing over the top. Like I said, I make mine a little bit thicker, so when I add it on top, it doesn't immediately run down. The monkey bread is still hot though, so it will drip slightly, but I more so smear mine around. But if you want yours to be more of a glaze, then you'll just add some more milk when you make the icing. After spreading my icing around a little bit, I do like to take some cinnamon and just sprinkle the top, more so as a garnish than anything else. It's not really necessary. It doesn't really change the taste that much. So you can do that if you want to. Here is what my monkey bread looked like when it was all done. It has been at least 2 or 3 years since the last time I made this. This recipe is really a gem. It is so easy, so delicious, a fun treat. Or I think some people even eat this for breakfast. It's a little too sweet for me for breakfast, but you could if you really wanted to. I really hope you try this one out. If you were here for my last video and you left a flower in the comments for watching the whole video, I would love if you did that again. That was so awesome, just seeing how many people actually watch to the end of my videos. So if you would do that again for this video, I would so appreciate that. And I thank you so much for being here today. I hope I'll see you back here on Sunday.